Okay, so now the synthesis of the track. So I did that last night, so please forgive me if there are any key points missing, but there are probably some. So just to remind you of the goal of the track, when we met like a few months ago and we decided to do a use case track in MyData, the goal was to explore and also to demonstrate the benefits of a MyData model through use cases. So we really wanted to go deep into use cases this year, not only do like pitching and concept and ideas, but really expose those who are doing pilots, building services, building platforms. So I just put the track into a few data. So the track is like 5 sessions over the 3 days, which means like it's a combination of 6 hours and 15 minutes of content that I summarized in 15 pages that I went through last night. And there are 6 coordinators and moderators that took care of this track, like Koiti, for example, Hubert, who is just there, Temu was there like 2 minutes ago, Eli and myself. So we curated all the propositions and built this, and also Fabien somewhere up there. We also had 18 speakers in those 5 sessions, so thanks to them for presenting all their awesome use cases. I'm just going to go through very quickly the central themes and ideas per session, sorry. So, as I said, bear with me, maybe some stuff are missing. So, the first session was on the first day, in the morning, and it was about individual awareness. And the goal was to present like an introduction of visions by startups, organizations, studies, like what do individuals think regarding of MyData concept. So 2 main key points I think kind of emerged from that session. The first one that I thought really interesting was made by Robert Gillis, right, from Pandemon, and he made that point that okay, we won't succeed with MyData use cases if we try just to clone actual or existing services and make them MyData compliant or privacy compliant. We need to take this excuse of inventing new services that are related to the MyData model to invent also new ways to empower people and new ways to rethink, for example, a social network. That is like, for example, with design, with user experience. So we need to propose like something unique, like a unique selling point for those use cases. And one of the other major thing that came out of the session was from the MEF study, Mobile Ecosystem Forum, right? They did a major study with all over the globe with thousands of people, and the thing that he said was the great awakening is here. It's here that people know what is done to the data. They don't want it that way, and they are willing. Actually, they are willing to manage their own data. Second session was in the afternoon of the first day. It was handpicked use cases. So this one was very special because last year we had like a session of use cases where we had like maybe 10, 15 pitches, 5-minute pitches, and we wanted this year to select only a few use cases that were on the ground, in the field, that to give them time to present their learnings, their experience. And so what we had like of findings from this, the first thing that kind of struck me is that the 2 data holders were in the room, 2 organizations that have data in their information system, right? It was a big group called S Group, like an empire of retail, a Finnish empire, and another French insurance provider named Maif. And both say that they have cooperative model, right? That they are part of the cooperative world. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but I thought that 2 major players willing to testify private players, right? Willing to testify in a MyData conference saying, this is what we do when we are sharing data with our clients, with our customers. Well, not clients, customers, more members. I thought it was kind of a cool point that those data holders have those collaborative models. Okay, the other thing is, I think we did the right choice by picking only 4 use cases, because they were kind of really epic. They were really out there trying to, like some of them had millions and millions of users, were global. Some of them were like matching with big data holder, like for example, the Jimmy does in Iceland with health data, which is such sensitive data, and I can't believe like that health actor is willing to share the data with individual. Like we tried that in France, it's so hard. So we're really happy that something like that is happening. Same for the S group, like the retail case, like major cases, which is kind of different from last year. And people agreed with the impact question. They said at first they thought that okay, MyData use cases are still POC, like we haven't gone through the stage of POC, and at the end they were like, no, okay, use cases of MyData are really breakthrough. And last thing, I thought it was really interesting that what Diginis did on the app. They built an app, then Yemi and I are going to talk about it, based on the MyData community input. And S Group did that too in the session. They asked, what should be our next feature for our use case? And I think that's really a testament to what the MyData community is going to be and is also already is, because like we are not just here to listen, we are also here to collaborate and to imagine use cases together. Okay, the session on energy data sharing. So this year we had one theme session, and it was energy, because like the unpicked use cases like was health, insurance, etc. Why is that? Well, the energy sector is one of them, in my opinion, and I had discussions with others, and we think that it's most MyData ready. They are the sector where the most actors are trying to build APIs, trying to share the data with individuals. Mostly because of smart meters, and because mainly also they were ready for the data portability right way before all the other organizations, because the law made them do that, made them make portable data for smart meter. But still they are there, they have already built the trust framework for sharing the data, the consent path, the UX, etc. Another thing that came out of the session is that the energy sector is also a sector where you have to have a lot of data. First, because like the system, the power system is getting more and more flexible and needs data to be managed, because like there is not only one source of energy now, there is solar, there is gas, there is everything. There is wind, and so because of this multiplication of sources of energy, the professional said that we need data to operate it. And we generate data with those new resources. The other thing that was kind of a breakthrough for me was, we always say, please, big organization, big data holder, please share your data with your clients. And they always, usually they say, well, I mean, nobody is going to be interested in that data. It's good if I keep it for me. So one of the things that went great in that session, when the energy distributor shared the data with the client, 140 service providers, commercial companies, said, okay, I want to plug into that API. I want to provide a service based on that personal data to people. I want to put people, to make people able to manage their own energy data. So that's one number, and it's like also only the beginning, right? So it's a great sign for the MyData ecosystem. The last one was kind of a question that was raised during the session, like, okay, so those cases are usually about like controlling your data to mostly reduce your carbon footprint. So it's not clear. It's not clear if it's really working, if people are really changing behavior. For now, it's only the beginning. It's starting slowly. So it's mostly like gamification services and coaching and advices, and people don't change behavior just based on that. And I think that's a question for our data track. Like, how do we make it more collective? I'm sure they addressed that in that track. This one I had to do very quickly at lunchtime. So please forgive me if I miss major points too on this one. So it was just this morning, the last session, major use cases from Finland. Like, we've been having the MyData conference for 3 years now in Helsinki. Why? Why are the Finnish so able to invest in this type of conferences? Well, it's because they are doing it. Like, they are implementing the MyData concept within their organizations. Like, for example, we had one use case from Trafi. They were building a 3-year pilot where individuals were able to retrieve their data on driver license and share it with third-party services. For example, to prove that you are able to, yes, I'm able to drive this big truck with poison on the back, so please hire me, like things like that. So very like efficient use cases. Same for, what's the name? Koski. Same for Koski. Koski is Ministry of Education, and they it's a system within the Ministry of Education, and you can actually retrieve your student data, and they have a pilot where they will be able to share it with third-party services. For example, if you're a student, you can share your student status and find out if you are able to gain benefits like social benefits. So these are like major data order again, actually putting in place the pipes for the data, right? And actually also experimenting, doing pilots, and like all that with the MyData name. It's kind of a breakthrough this year because like they are using the MyData logo, the MyData name. So it's really cool that our community is not only a conference, but it's also like real project happening on the ground. The last project was more about the tech of it, and that's true that in the use case track we didn't address that much. We really focused on the usage for individuals. We didn't really go behind the door to see how they made it happen, but definitely something for the interoperability track and data portability. Okay, so now disagreement and agreements. So it's like, I'm not going to go through each session. It's like one slide, promise. So they may seem basic, those agreements, but it's kind of new that this year we are agreeing on stuff because like we had many disagreements on data ownership, on selling data, etc. But this year, for the first time, we didn't have to explain at the beginning of each session what is MyData. The speakers started from the concept that everybody in the room knew what it is, that you read the declaration. If you are here, it's because you know what it is, right? So the one thing, the 4 points was, the first one was, okay, like all agreements in all the sessions, one type of data is not enough to provide a good use case. Like you need to cross data, you need to aggregate data, so to provide a use value for individual. Of course, always under the individual control. Second point was privacy is not enough. You need to provide killer features. That was represented in all the sessions. Also, the sharing of data is useless if you don't have the services behind that provide use value to individuals. And the last part that was kind of all over the place was cooperation. We need to cooperate between public, private players and also make it European. 3 points that I think were kind of raised during the sessions. The first one was, what is MyData use case exactly? Sometimes people were like, this is not MyData compliant. So this is something we need to address. This is something we need to make sure we all are on the same page on that. And I think the discussion after is mainly based on that. The problem of scaling, like this question, like we are on the pilot stage, like thousands of users, but how do you get millions? That's something that always came up in all the discussions. And also how to make people and companies, or organizations, interested in data. And one of the things that came out of many of the sessions was accompanying the organizations and individuals is really important. Data literacy is really important. Okay, some of the things that I think might be outlooked in the sessions. The first one is the personalization of services. To me, it's something that was not really addressed in all the sessions. It's like a big promise of the MyData model, right? To personalize services for individuals, always under their control. Well, are we asking ourselves the question, do we really need those personalized services? Are those the ones that we want? And isn't personalization an illusion? Like most of the GAFAs today are saying that they personalize the experience. Well, they're not really, like they are putting you in a box, you match to this profile, so I will give you this and this as recommendation. It's not personalization, it's like putting you in a box, right? So let's be careful not to go there with MyData use cases. And also, personalization is something that always demands more and more data to be more and more accurate, so are we like the snake biting ourselves? And also the bubble filter aspect of it. Like, if I get personal services, can I ever get services that get me out of my bubble? Something that I think was also raised in a lot of sessions and not really addressed is the privacy paradox. Many of you may know this paradox. It's really simple. It's like individuals say they are worried about the data, they don't trust organizations, but they still use Google, Facebook, etc. Like, it was, I think the weird stuff was that this paradox was kind of, okay, it's there, it's true, this is what happens now. Well, it's kind of challenging many communities, like researchers and startups, etc. Like, this privacy paradox does not exist, according to some people, because people don't have a choice. Like, this is what Mikko Ikonen said on the stage yesterday. He said, like, okay, YouTube wants your money and your data. You don't have a choice. Like, even if you wanted to change services, you can't really. So, I mean, where is the paradox? And the last point, I think it was pointed out some other times, other conferences, we still did not address the carbon footprint of MyData within the use cases. So many use cases rested on reducing your carbon footprint, for example, the S group one, the energy data sharing session one. Like, maybe we need to address that a bit, like, because data portability right is about making copies of your data. So that's like multiplying the data by how much, so we need to be careful. Okay, so now I want to ask Dan and Ellen to present the DigiMe app, which is a live challenge during the conference. I hope you contributed to it, and we will have like a real small use case described here in our synthesis session.